Welcome back to the dark side of Reddit. Stories that will haunt your thoughts. This story was originally posted on Reddit by someone who said they never believed in ghosts, spirits, or anything supernatural until they moved into a small apartment that came with one very strange rule. Do not acknowledge the woman in the hallway mirror. They thought it was a joke from the landlord. Just a creepy warning to scare tenants. But after what happened, they said they'd give anything to go back to the day before they ever looked into that mirror. My name's Daniel. And last year I moved into a cheap apartment on the 3rd floor of an old building. It wasn't great, thin walls, creaky floors, weird neighbors, but it was cheap, and that was all I cared about. The landlord only had one real rule. He pointed at the tall mirror in the hallway outside my door and said, "Don't look at her. And if you do, don't speak." I laughed. He didn't. He just repeated it, slower this time. I assumed he meant some superstition or story the building liked to tell. No one else mentioned it, so I ignored it. For the first few weeks, the mirror was just there. Sometimes I'd catch my own reflection as I walked past. Nothing strange, nothing creepy. Until the night I came home late and saw someone standing in the reflection behind me. Even though the hallway was completely empty, I froze. In the mirror, a woman stood a few feet behind me, pale, tall, long dark hair covering most of her face. She wasn't moving. She wasn't breathing. But when I turned around, there was nobody there. In the reflection, she was still staring at me, or at least I think she was. I couldn't see her eyes. My heart was hammering. I remembered the landlord's warning and forced myself to look away, unlocking my door with shaking hands. Inside, I tried to convince myself I was exhausted. Just a trick of the light, a shadow. Except shadows don't linger. Shadows don't stand still like a person. And shadows don't return every single night after that. After the second night, I noticed something else. The woman only appeared in the mirror when I was there too. If I leaned forward, she'd lean forward. If I stepped back, she'd step back. But when I turned around, the hallway behind me was always empty. It was like she only existed on the other side. One evening, curiosity got the better of me. I lifted my hand slowly in the reflection, and so did she. Just a fraction of a second late. That tiny delay made my stomach twist, because it meant she wasn't my reflection. She was copying me. The landlord noticed the dark circles under my eyes and sighed. "You looked at her," he said quietly. I wanted to deny it, but what was the point? He told me the story. Years ago, a woman disappeared in that hallway. No body, no witnesses, just gone. Not long after, tenants started seeing her in the mirror. At first, she only watched. Then she began to mimic. Then, sometimes, she didn't. "Whatever you do," he repeated, "don't speak to her. If you acknowledge her, you invite her in." It sounded insane, but I'd already seen her. Already felt that slow, delayed movement. I started avoiding the hallway at night, but you can't avoid the place you live forever. One night during a power outage, the hallway was pitch black, except for the faint light from my phone. As I passed the mirror, I made the mistake of glancing up. She was closer, so close that her hair brushed the invisible glass between us. So close that if there wasn't a mirror there, she would have been standing inches from my face. And for the first time, she didn't move when I did. She just tilted her head, slowly, as if studying me. I covered the mirror with an old sheet the next day. But it didn't matter, because now, I didn't need the mirror to feel watched. It started with small things. Cups moved, doors left slightly open. My shoes pointed toward the mirror even when I knew I'd kicked them aside. Sometimes I'd wake up and find the sheet pulled tight against the glass, like someone had pressed their face into it from the other side. The worst was the night. I was half asleep and heard a faint sound from the hallway. A soft, slow tapping, like fingernails on glass. Tap, tap, tap. I lay there frozen until morning. Eventually, I broke. I ripped the sheet down in daylight and forced myself to stare directly at the mirror. She wasn't there, just me. I felt ridiculous, relieved, stupid for believing any of it. But as I turned to walk away, my reflection didn't. It stayed still for a second too long. Then, it smiled. And the woman's hair, the pale skin, the empty expression, all of it slid over my reflection like ink in water. I understood then. She didn't want to cross over. She wanted me to. From that day, my reflection never felt right. Sometimes its eyes lagged behind. Sometimes its expression was just a bit wrong. And sometimes, when I passed other mirrors or windows, I could swear I saw her face instead of mine, just for a blink. I called the landlord. He didn't answer. I knocked on neighbors' doors. Nobody opened. It was like the building had already decided what I was going to become. The next few days blurred together in a way that felt wrong, like time itself was looping. I would wake up, check the windows, force myself to step outside, and the same faces would appear in the same places: the woman with the empty basket, the old man pretending to read a newspaper he never turned, the child tracing circles in the dirt with a stick. I started testing them, changing my route, stopping suddenly, even doubling back. But somehow, no matter what path I took, they were always already facing me, not following, not approaching, just correcting the world so that I was always at the center of it. And at night, the whispering under my floorboards returned, only now it wasn't random. It was rhythmic, measured, like a crowd chanting through fabric and wood. I tried to leave again. This time I didn't pack anything. I just walked, mile after mile, past the same repeating trees and the same sharp bend in the road that somehow never took me anywhere new. When I eventually gave up and turned around, the town was right behind me as if it had been following along. Houses sitting patiently at the edge of the road like obedient dogs waiting for a command. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat on the floor with my back to the wall, watching the door, listening to the endless, distant murmur of people who refused to admit they existed after sunset. At around 3 in the morning, the handle on my bedroom door moved, not turning, just gently testing, as though someone wanted to make sure it was still there, and that I was still inside. The next morning, a woman I hadn't seen before knocked on my door. She looked normal, painfully normal, like someone you'd pass in a supermarket without ever remembering. She smiled warmly and said, "We're just making sure you're settling in." I asked her who we were, but she only tilted her head, as if the question didn't make sense in our shared language. Before leaving, she placed her hand on the doorframe and whispered, "It's easier if you stop trying to understand. People who understand don't stay very long." Then she walked away. And for the first time since moving here, I realized something terrifying. I had never seen anyone in this town actually leave a building. They were always just already outside. That night, I dreamed I was standing in the town square, and every house had its lights on. Every window glowed, every door was open, and inside each home was a chair, all arranged in a perfect circle, all facing inward. In the center of the square stood an empty seat, waiting. When I woke up, my heart pounding, I went to the window to calm myself, and froze. The town square was real. The circle of chairs was real, and in the center was a single empty seat, facing my house. That evening I sat by the window until the sky turned the color of old bruises and the streetlights hummed to life. One by one, the doors around the square opened. People stepped outside and took their places on the chairs, silent. Still, every face turned toward that single empty seat in the center. I wanted to pretend it was some strange town tradition, something harmless and explainable, but deep down I already knew it wasn't. My phone had no signal, my car wouldn't start. The road only ever led me back here. Whatever this town was, it had chosen me for something, not because I was special, but because I was here, and here was enough. When I finally opened my front door, the night felt heavier than air should ever feel. No one spoke, no one moved. The empty chair waited in the center of the square like a patient animal. I walked toward it because there was nowhere else left to go. As I sat down, the town exhaled, a soft, collective sigh, and every other chair slowly turned, aligning perfectly so that every single person now faced outward, away from me, away from the center, as if I had become the town's new anchor point. Its stillness, its purpose, I don't know what that means yet. I just know that since that night, no matter where you stand here, you'll always feel like someone is watching you. And you'll be right, because now, I am. This story was originally posted on Reddit by someone who said they just needed to share it before the town finally made sense. Whether you believe it was real, psychological, or just a terrifying piece of fiction, it definitely leaves a mark. Tell me in the comments which part shocked you the most and why. I love reading your thoughts and theories. And if you enjoy dark, slow burn, psychological horror like this, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. It really helps support the stories. Thanks for watching. And if you ever move to a quiet town that feels too perfect, maybe don't sit in the empty chair.